last year we had a bit of a physical component to it, but this year we're coming back, in the full strength of, the festival's in-person programs, while still keeping a bit of a virtual element of it as well. This year's festival starts on the 27th of October, which is just a couple of weeks, and runs until the 31st of October. The theme for this year's festival is BABEL, a new language. This year, we're considering how the technology of language underscores our sense of identity and facilitates pretty much our understanding of the universe and how we relate to one another. We thought it was important for us to center the mother tongue and the mother tongue in artistic expression, and also the mother tongue in education as well. So that has also informed, our, the curation of the guests who are coming for this year's festival. So we're having Mukoma Ngugi, we're having Raymond Antrobos.
You can mention where they're coming from, please.
Yeah, we have Mukoma Ngugi, who will be joining us from Kenya. We have Raymond Antrobos, who is Jamaican, who will be joining us from New Orleans. We have Rudy Francisco, who will be joining us from the US. And this year we have an ongoing exchange with Poetry Africa, our friends in Dublin, who've been running, I think, the longest running poetry festival on the continent. We have an exchange program with Poetry Africa, which saw 5 poets from Lagos actually in 2019 traveling to Durban for the festival. So this year we are returning the favor and we're bringing 5 poets from across South Africa who will be joining us. We have Sipokasi Jonas, we have Jolene Phillips, we have Africa Dlamini, and quite a number of them. We also have a number of Ghanaians joining us this year. Last year we had our friend from Ghana, Nana Stasi, who is a playwright, poet, and a folklorist as well, who will be returning again this year. But we wanted to expand the involvement of Ghanaians this year. So we have about 4 Ghanaians who will be joining us as well. We have a poet from Togo. We also have an ongoing partnership with a Scottish organization called Moniakmo. So we have 3 poets from Scotland who will be joining us. We have 2 poets from the UK as well. Yes, and just pretty much, we as much as possible wanted to get, poets from almost every continent represented, in the festival. We have Omar bin Musa, who will be joining us from Australia. We have Pooja, who will be joining us from India. So we, pretty much we'll be having a lot of diversity, in terms of the spread of the guests this year. And what will also be interesting is to see that a number of them will actually be performing, in their mother tongue, and we'll be having conversations around that. We have about, I think, 10 to 13 events spread out across 4 days. We have 4 days of workshops, which will be kicking off on the 27th at the Goethe Institute. We have Rudy Francisco teaching a workshop. We have Titi Lokweshonuga, who will be joining us from Canada, teaching a workshop as well. We have Dami Ajayi, who will be teaching a workshop. We have Chikwube Danladi, who will be joining us from the US, who will also be teaching a workshop as well. And then we have the opening performance and cocktail at Terra Culture on the 27th, Thursday 27th evening. It's free entry. We'll have drinks, and then we'll settle into the first event of the festival, which will feature live performances by DK Chukwumerije, Titi Sholuga, Sipokasi Jonas, Nadine Aisha Jassat, who will be joining us from Scotland, and Nana Asase and the musician Rick Hassani. The performance at Terra Culture will be followed by our keynote panel, which will be discussing the theme, of language as a form of identity, and how the power dynamics that subordinates language, for language has blurred encoded histories and bodies of knowledge in the process. That panel will be moderated by Kola Tubosu, poet and linguist, and it will have Mukoma Ngugi, Raymond Antrobos, and Aja Monet as well. Then we have a poetry slam on Saturday On Friday, we're at the British Council where we have an evening of African poetry called Africa Aloud. It will be followed by an evening of American poetry called American Slang. Saturday will be at Roving Heights all afternoon for a series of book conversations, book readings, and book signings. Then we are back at Terra Culture on Saturday evening for the festival's command performance. On Sunday, we return to the British Council early in the morning for something called Church of Poetry. First and second service at the British Council Sunday morning. We'll have a film screening in the afternoon, and then we have the festival's closing party on Sunday evening at the British Council as well. Almost all the events are free. So please join us as much as you can, and invite your friends, invite your family.
Wow.
And send us money. Send us money. I'll type my account number in the comment section.
Money is coming. This is quite a lot. I've just been saying, wow. And let me ask you a very quick question, because we have two young poets here, and I always like to privilege them because that's what we're all working towards. Now, this is a young poet now, Quarry God. She didn't use her real name, but her real name is Oriofe Oguntola. And yesterday at the Kuramo Festival of Words, which was going on at a hotel, she gave I left already. I left to attend Onobra Prayer celebration. And I was told that the poem she did, which was in her own style, was full of the kind of innuendo that she used, that she really scattered. In fact, that's the language the person who reported to me, Shegun Adefina, reported to me, that she scattered the place. So this festival now, what is the agenda for young people? And then for gender balancing. I know you mentioned, when you started Wana, all of them used to be there. But this, over the time, because you're still going to talk about the 8 years journey, I've not really seen many female poets. I'm not ghettoizing this, but I'm just saying that I've not really seen many. It's like there was one evening I sat at the Freedom Park event at the amphitheater, and I was wondering where are the female poets? And I mean, that was me. I didn't ask you the question, but I'm just saying, for this year, is there any specific thing for them, especially for young people? This is a young female poet, and there's another one, Oyin Consola, who has moved into mass communication. About she writes beautiful. You've mentored her before at a Lagos Book and Art Festival. She's now a graduate. She was a very young lady then. She graduated. And these are young people writing, but you don't really see their voices. Even all the poetry iteration that you see in Lagos, you don't really see them from Ajegunle, from Bariga, from Your End, from Orange. All these iterations in Lagos, we don't really see their voice. So what the agenda for? First, young people. Second, female poets, without genderizing this whole project. Go ahead.
Yes, I think those are important questions, because we have to be deliberate about including young people, and ensuring that we cater to their voices. We cater to their voices at the level of capacity building and creating platforms for them to express themselves, and not just to perform, but to also see how they can publish and get their voices out there. And I think that was, to a large extent, what informed our inclusion of a slam element at the festival, which we started last year. And it's a slam for young people between 18 and 35, because we wanted to encourage people to come out and share their voices. The slam has a prize, winner takes all prize of 1 million naira, because we thought, one of the best ways to encourage young people to come out and share their gifts is to create a platform where they can also be rewarded and encouraged. But the slam also has like an open mic element that is also free for all that is also free for open to young people to also come and speak and share as well. And this year we're starting a magazine called Maroko. And that is also driven by the need for us to be able to curate, contemporary, young and established voices. So that has been open submissions. We're receiving poems from, across the continent, particularly from young people, for the magazine, which will be publishing and coming out, launching at the festival on the 27th. In terms of
Yeah.
gender, we try very, very consciously to ensure that, you know, we have as many female poets included as possible. And back to your observation about, you know, where the female poets are, it's a struggle I also have in curating the festival. And each year it's also pretty much the same question we ask, like, where are the female poets? You know, and in trying to find people who, you know, women that can, you know, participate in the at the festival, it's almost difficult to find them. So I'm not sure if it's a question of us not looking hard enough, or maybe, you know, like there not being enough female representation, as it were. We had similar question regards Wana. You know, we had Donald Gunaiki, we had Jumoke, very similar. You know, almost all of them who are pretty much in the diaspora now. Actually, almost everybody I've named now are all, you know, out there in the world. So I think we also need to be deliberate about mentoring, you know, the people who are coming behind us and creating platforms, you know, for them for expression. And as the festival will continually, you know, try to do that. We try to do that every edition to ensure that we include young people, and we include young women as well, who interestingly, I think, are writing some of the most poignant verses.
I tell you,
some of the most poignant verses in the world.
I know that. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, EFE Paul, on Culture, Train on Spirit of Nigeria Radio. Now that I've opened it, let me privilege. I will have asked one or two of the young female poets who are here. There are three of them here actually to have come in to speak. But let me privilege teachers of poetry who are themselves poets. And I'm talking specifically about Kolade Oditola, who teaches in Florida, Shola Adeyemi, who teaches in London, and Lukman Sanusi, who actually started projects, you know, cultural project, art project for young people. And he has actually mentored. Many of them are established now. So let me privilege them, and then I'll come to our young female poet. They can then talk. Let me start with somebody who is teaching poetry currently. Although somebody has made a comment, I would like him to expand. Maybe I should start there. Shola Adeyemi said, a contradictory of poets. I believe that is the term. So I want to, let me ask Shola to open this, and then, because I know that he's also very much involved in there's something he's struggling with today, which he briefed me about it. Shola Adeyemi, please, if I can get you to add it to the pin. Shola Adeyemi, can you start your video? Hello? You know, he made a comment there. I want him to expand. Is Shola there? Okay.
Sorry, this is Shola Adeyemi here.
Okay,
the first comment I made was that it's a poetry slum, which is what I gathered from what EFE was talking about, and this was actually a remark I made a couple of months ago, a few weeks back, you know, which I think it's encapsulates the essence of this project, of this festival. It's not just a festival of poets to just come and listen to themselves. It's more of a festival which involves people, children, people who have never even written poems before or performed poems before, but they are going to be able to learn and be able to benefit from these other poets who are coming. So it's that slummy kind of concentration of ideas. And I use the term slum based on what EFE himself said, because of the environment in Morocco and so on and so forth. I said, well, you know, this is a congregation of people coming together from so many different kinds, different wills of life, and they are going to benefit from this. It's a good idea. It's well overdue. It's something that we need to do. But my contribution is just going to be mainly, what do we then take away from this? How do we, once we have the festival, what next? What next? Not for the poets, they can publish their poetry, but what next for the people, for the young children who are benefiting from it, who are learning from it? Are they going to be mentored? Is there going to be a program for or project to carry the advantage or the benefit of that festival along in future 6 months, a year ahead? What is going to happen next? That is the first question. And then the comment I made about the contradictory of poets is just a joke, because
okay,
when you get five poets together, you never get them to say one thing. They say 7 different things, you know. So, which is actually quite good for this festival, because there are going to be so many different kinds of people, so many different kinds of ideas, and the more of this, the more benefit we are. And I'm glad that you mentioned my friend also coming there, Nkoma, who is a fantastic poet, who is who are encouraged to present some of his poetry in Kikuyu, you know, because this is one of the projects that we are working on, a project which not only looks at the work that we are doing or the presentation of our work in English, but in our languages, and translating from different African languages, you know, for the benefit of those who are from those other different cultures. So you write in Yoruba, this work should then be translated into maybe Hausa, Swahili, Shona, and all these people are inter-translating their works, if that's a word, their works, which then exposes this work to other people and widen the reading, the reading people, the reading audience, the performance, the performing, or the people who see the performances. You know, so these are the ideas that I think makes this festival very unique and very important, and something that should be supported. You know, but I'm not going to hog the whole discussion. I will just hand over to Professor Jutala.
Well, Professor Jutala said, poetry slum, poetry slam, poetry alarm, never a ram. So remember the lamb as you eat your ham. This is a parody of the slam.
So sorry, German. May I go in before Professor Kola?
Okay, well, you are brothers. You are all troublemakers, yeah. So let me add you. Okay.
Because, you know, once Professor Kola speaks, whatever I say will not carry weight. So okay. Before he begins to outshine me, let me also hug this spotlight. Yes, EFE, what I would say is...
Sorry, let me just say that in case there's a break, please bear with me. Nigeria just happened. There's no light in the studio, but we've got to put on generator. That's Nigeria. My sister Waya is there. She will understand what I mean. Nigeria just happened to all of us. Okay, the light is back. Anyway, go on, Lukman.
All right. So, but first of all, I want to take it from a point of view of, you know, of my experience in starting off anything that has to do. I started with children, then I now move it up to young people. I start to define them as young people, because when you say young people, it means they have at least ideas of their own and they can propagate it. So, and the idea really is to fuel whatever concept you have. For instance, if it's children's theater, you need to build the next set of audience, not necessarily actors, but the next set of audience, because once you inculcate in them that, you know, theatrical experience, you know, they want to live it. The same thing with, you know, writing as well, you know. So once you start them off with, you know, writing and text, and then they get hooked to it, you build the next set of readers and writers. And I'll take it from another experience. Here in the UK, I used to mentor a group called Leeds Young Poets. All right, and this has to do with a set of teenagers that are picked from the schools and are picked from, you know, a community in Leeds, where they come together and they are mentored, and then they produce fantastic work That is Poetry Slam. This was way back in 2002 or so. And I love the idea so much that I wanted to replicate it in Nigeria and then I also wanted to invite this group down to Nigeria because it's something that is so inspiring. And so what FA is doing in order to sustain the festival, I would just, advise that if you tie it around the school, that would ensure its sustainability, whether it is slum or slam or whatnot. All right, because then you'd have a sort of engine. The school is something that will be welcome, all right, when you start this sort of culture, all right, and then they will be the one asking you, when can you have a biannual festival as opposed to just one, all right? So I hope I'm wrong, I'm right. When you say biannual, that's twice in a year, yeah? Is that the right word? So that is, once you tie it around school, around clubs or society and all that, that will ensure the sustainability and, if you like, cost-effective festival, So I'll just stop there because I know Professor Colley has a lot of...
Okay. Efe, I'll just advise that you take notes so that you can respond to the first three.
Yes.
Okay. So, Dr. Colley Adeoditola, please, all the way from Florida, the land of iron.
Efe, please disregard all these titles that have been bestowed upon me, especially Dr. Shola's professor. I am not a professor, and I have asked my lawyers to sue anybody who calls me a professor. So that is...
Lawyer will write you first.
Yes. Yes, my lawyers will come after you. I am using the same lawyer German uses every time. All right. The good thing is that Efe and I do not even know each other, but we are alums of the Institute of Poetry Festival in South Africa, in Durban. I have been invited twice to the festival, and that tells you something. And where I'm coming from, the fact that the Poetry Africa Festival tries to make each festival a silo, whereby those who have come before do not know those who are coming. And there's been no effort, despite the fact that over the years, I have always written reports and sent to them that we would like to do this. We would like those who attended to meet those who are coming. And let's form a brotherhood and sisterhood of poets. And I'm just giving that to you as one of the things you might consider. And from what I heard you say, some who have come before already know. So that maybe there's a way in which the past can be made present in each festival so that those who come can also get to know. Because I think the world needs a Congress of poets. It's still lacking. And you're doing a very good job because, you drop names from all continents. Man, the reason why I can't doff my hat is because you will see that my hair is untidy. But just imagine that I'm doffing my hat. So having said that, we also can borrow, like they always say, the African culture all of it might not be the best, but we can always borrow from the good aspects of it. There are a lot of good things that happen in Poetry Festival, that they'll put us into buses in different groups and we all go to the schools in the township. And that part I found very, very interesting. Apart from the fact that for the first time in my life, I felt like a big man. I'd never been a Lagos big man. And when I got to Durban, I felt like a real big man because they had introduced us and we were coming from different parts of the world and we were coming to interact with the students. I started a project with one of the students. I asked them to collect their poems and I was going to publish it. One way or the other, life happened. I never did it. But what am I offering you? What you already know. It's not that because you've experienced it before, and I'm sure you really enjoyed it. There's nothing, it's so intoxicating when you get to those schools and they welcome you with their own creative works and then you also intervene and you talk to them. So that aspect of it, I don't know whether it's missing in yours but Lagos is, please, You know those adverts that you read and say, please don't try this at home. You know those adverts they have, and then somebody will do a stunt and say, please don't try this at home. I think Durban also has this. Please don't try this in Lagos. You know, so I quite understand why you probably might not have some selected school. But you see that man that spoke before me, the chief commander of Young People's Creative Company, Brother Lukman Sanusi. If I say hold his hand, he might just hold his neck. The kind of contacts he has to schools of rich people in Lagos, only God has that list. After God, now Lukman. Rich children of rich people, he has all the contacts. And once he shows up in any of those schools, Corona Neo, Santa something Neo, all of it, the principals will just suddenly hand over their school to him, and then they never put money in the check they give him. They ask him to fill the amount he wants. And that is Lukman. If they haven't introduced him properly, that is the introduction of Lukman himself. He has found an inroad into those schools. I don't know what is feasible. I don't know what is possible, but it's an idea that I took away from South Africa and I loved it. You know, so, but having said that, I was very privileged before the show started to watch your performances, the idea that you've also perfected the collage of the spoken, the sound, and then the text, and then images running side by side with what you say is something that I have always dreamt about. And I hope that in real life, apart from the video, there will also be a simultaneous casting of what people are saying, if they feel so that we can confront the text and also hear the sound of it. Now, these things might not be possible for this year, but I was really sold on the story of a 32-year-old woman who died, and the governor's son who also slowly bled to death. You know, that is how powerful it was. You know, I saw it once, I heard it once, and it just registered like that. You know, and I don't, you know, Jama will tell you, I don't have a good memory, but there are things that once it stamps, it stamps. And finally, I really, from the bottom of my heart, congratulate you for all you're doing. I know, I mean, I feel all your pain. As you feel it, just know that you're replicating it, and I'm feeling it here in Florida. I can feel all your pains, all the frustration, all the anticipation, all the looking, are they going to come? Are the flights arriving? And all of that and all of that. I know, without being told, just closing my eyes, I can feel the anxiety you're going through. And my brother, if I had one prayer left in my pouch, you know, Jama said I should talk about that, Nikolakbo. If I had one prayer left in my pouch, it's that the Almighty God would be there before you, will be there with you, and will remain with you. Thank you very much for doing this, my brother.
Amen. Thank you very much, Prof.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Do you want to respond now, EFE Paul? EFE Paul on the Culture Train on Spirit of Nigeria Radio, where we bring the diaspora to speak, or you want the young people to speak? They also have their own voices. Do you want to respond to this, and then we take them? I think you should respond to this.
Okay.
And they can then ask a question.
Okay.
Go ahead, EFE.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. I don't have money to respond to your lawyers, so please permit me to call you Prof, sir. And since you have also spoken like one, it is hard not to. But I really appreciate all the encouragement and also all the advice that has come from Prof, from Oga Lukman, my chief, who I saw at Oxford, and I walked past him, and I kept turning back. I said, "This cap looks like Lukman Sanusi Fila." I was coming from Oyeka Awelu's festival, but I wasn't sure, so I said, "Let me not go and tap the wrong person in a strange man's land." And then I saw on Facebook that you were also at the festival, and that definitely was you. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to Shola Odeyemi as well. I think one thing that has come through from all the contributions has been the importance of reaching young people, which is something really, really at the heart of what we've tried to do. We actually have a very vibrant schools program that we've sustained in the last 8 years of the festival. So each year we always take the poets, to schools, to secondary schools, private schools, and public schools as well. We've been to Ajegule a few times, some of the secondary schools, and those clusters with some of the poets. But every year they come, we ensure that they get to interact with young people, because for so many of these young people who have the latent talents to be writers, to be artists, to be poets, sometimes it just takes the manifestation of somebody who is actually doing this thing, that you are trying your hands on in your little corner, to give you all the courage and all the motivation you need to, see that you can actually build a career out of this. So it's important that we have that sort of representation, and we try to do that. But I think what we've also are hoping to do, which we tried to do this year, but I think it's a combination of its resources pretty much, has been to extend the schools program that we run within the festival every year and make it a year-long commitment. So we've been trying to start something called the Young Writers and Creators Hub, which is targeted at secondary schools, particularly public secondary schools, actually. And the general idea of it has been to see how we can get established practitioners, in different sectors, not even just poetry and literature, but also in dance, but also in film and in visual art and photography, to be able to come to the schools and talk to the students and share with them, and create some kind of mentorship program, that is self-sustaining, like Mr. Shola mentioned initially. After the festival, what next? People come, they're inspired, they're encouraged, they want to do something, so they need that extra layer of support, a bit of hand-holding, through their journey as poets. So we're trying to establish this space. But I think sometimes after the festival, because of how overwhelming it is, we get so exhausted, you almost are not able to go further. But next year, inshallah, we will be starting off with the Young Writers and Creators Lab to ensure that we have a year-round, a year-long, because I was at a cultural exchange program in Edinburgh, I think 2 or 3 years ago, for the British Council, and I was just so amazed at the level of institutional support, that young people and young aspiring artists were getting. And they have something called the Scottish Writers Trust that pretty much caters to young people. It's so well organized, so rich in resources, and I just thought, why can't we have this here? We don't have any sort of government support or, that kind of thing. So whatever you can do using your networks, to reach out to private organizations and patrons, you try to do that and see what we can do to ensure that we have a more robust project and program for young people. So I think, so those are some of the things we're trying to do, and inshallah we'll be able to do them as we.
Thank you very much, Efe, and thank you. I mean, I always know you to be somebody who can just handle questions very well, and because this is not the first time I'll be talking to you. I've told you that you should bring me to your school of public speaking, because that's why I wanted us to enjoy that poetry. I know that you are.
I'll bring you as the principal.
Yeah, if I should tell people now that when Wole Soyinka, was it 70 or when it was 80 or so, and he saw you, remember, and he saw you on stage, that was the year Muta Baruka came around. Muta Baruka is this Islam poet from, and Soyinka said, look, this I'm not a friend of this spoken word or what they call slang, but this guy, what he's saying and what you were doing that day was justice has been kidnapped and which is hate speech. And I'm going to report you so that Alaji Minister like Mohammed will come after you. And the man said, no, you must make sure that you, and every year you then supposed to coach people, because we are going to see a nexus between what you're doing and what our next guest is doing. But before then, let me try to hear from the young people here. I have Oyin Consola Adisewa, who has said, ran away to Mascom and made the first class. I'm glad to say that because she's my daughter. Made the first class from our university, and I'm just getting to know today. Can you imagine? So very soon now, she's going to say that I'm owing her money to pay for the first class. And I also have Kaori God here, and I told you of what she did yesterday. How she scattered the whole of her Oguntola. And also, I have Chinelo here. You know what's remarkable about Chinelo is that she's still, well, she's an ASU undergraduate because she ought to have graduated. But every time she wants to get, like what fella said, every time Anne wants to reach it, they will just go on strike. They go on strike all the time. That the poor lady is so frustrated, but she's still at the University of Lagos. But what is remarkable about her is that she's one of the coordinator of this group of students called the very big name, Transcultural Network of Writers. They are young people, all of them, they're about 60-something. And they are my adoptee. They are an adoptee of my organization, Committee for Relevant Art. And she manages to bring all these people together. So if you are at Odia of Fairmont's 78th birthday in Unilag, in fact, the day they locked down Lagos for COVID, she was one that coordinated all those kids that came around. And I'm still owing them money for winning some prizes from Odia of Fairmont at 70. So these three people, I want to privilege them now. Any of them who want to ask a question. Okay? Chinelo, Kaori God, Oyin Consola, any of you want to, please unmute yourself and just talk. I know who will first talk because I know her. She's a troublemaker. But anyway, so who among you want to talk first? Chinelo.
German, I know it's me. I know you're talking.
I'd not mention your name.
That network was disturbing, so I didn't hear what you were saying.
Oh, no. I was saying that I was introducing you and I want you to talk to EFE. That's what I'm saying. Are you ready to talk now or you want me to bring you later or should I bring Kaori God or?
Please bring me later on.
Oh, okay. I know where you are. I can tell where you are. It's the ASU break. You are now more of a home gecko, doing more of homework.
I'm imprisoned in this house. But if it's about the poetry, something, this poetry, it was while transcribing the 1st of October interview that I realized that, sorry, I can't do video, life no day for this place.
Oh, you see, Nigeria has happened to you. Yeah, go ahead.
So I realized that there will be a poetry festival coming up. So I was really surprised because, we don't get to know about these things. Like, I don't think it's advertised very well or something like that. Because if not for the interview that I was transcribing, I wouldn't have come to know that, okay, Lagos Poetry Festival is coming up. So we have a lot of poets, a lot of people who are into poetry. Even in my Transcultural Writers Network, we have a lot of poets. And we do this poetry thing in school very, very well. But none of us even the poetry stuff, this news on poetry, none of us know about it. So I feel like if it's maybe it is not well advertised, just like when Big Brother Nigeria wants to start now, everybody gets to know that there is a show coming up, I'm prepared for it, and those who want to audition will audition. So I just feel like probably it's like for me now, I love poetry. I've published on my social media page, I have written a lot of poems, done poetry video, over 100 poems, and sometimes I get discouraged because there's no platform to showcase all these things. So you feel like, okay, sometimes it just really discourages you because you feel like much people are not actually interested in this thing. you know, so you just do it because you like it, because you love poetry. So I just do it most of the time because I love poetry. So even in my groups, I have most of our students in school. They are poets, but they began to diversify, move into other things, and forget that I forget their poetry ability. So that is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the problem is that it's not advertised to you. If you were in your school, actually, I'm sure you'll have heard about it, but because people now, because you are on ASU break, you don't really follow. Because this
actually, even while in school, I don't know, while we were in school, I don't, it was, yes, I heard about it last year. It was a friend of mine that talked about it, and I went on Instagram, and I saw it on Instagram, and you know, but when I saw it, it was already late because I could not audition or something like that.
Okay, you know what I'll suggest? Next time when you go on Instagram every day, just Google poetry. Where is poetry happening? Because you told me the same thing about the Shoyinka, the World Poetry Day event that we do every March. Everybody got to know about it, but don't worry, I understand what you're saying. But we are on my Facebook, and I've been advertising this. But don't let us
advertise very well. You know, I don't advertise very well.
Okay. Okay. Honorable, hold your mic. This is what I like. I like young people to have their voice. She has yapped me now. I will catch you. Chinelo. Okay, let me give to Carly God. That's another one who will come and yap me now.
Good evening.
Carly God. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to add you to the spotlight, but your video is not on, so I can't add you. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Azino, well done. You're doing many, many things.
Okay.
About the business of art.
Go ahead. You say what?
I've been in the business of art.
Okay. And what do you want to say? You want him to talk about business of the art?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you just take note of that, the business of art. Okay. So let me bring Oyin Consola because our next guest has a family function to attend. Oyin Consola Adesewa. You're also a young poet and you are about to be published. So go ahead, but you've been published a lot in the newspapers. So any question or comment on the festival?
Okay, first of all, good evening, sir. It's a really huge privilege to be on a Zoom call with really great people, because I really consider you all to be great people, and the amazing works you have all done. It's really inspiring. So sir, I'm sorry, I can't put on my video.
They don't have light in their house. Can you imagine? That is in Nigeria of 2023. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, you Consola. Yes.
Just as Mr. Jaman introduced me, I actually started off as a child poet. I remember going for events, shows, as much performances as I could, trying to put my poetry out there. And up till I got into secondary school, even when I got into senior secondary school, I was just trying to push my poetry, get better, grow. And then people used to tell me then that poetry doesn't pay. And that I should focus my energy on something else, something that I can grow a future in, something that can bring in the money and everything. I remember when I was leaving secondary school, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to study, but I just wanted to study something that is kind of related to writing. And that was why I went for mass communication. And I realized poetry actually really helps me in terms of creative writing and all of those. I was able to really express myself. I'm able to really grow in that aspect as well. Poetry has really come in handy in a whole lot of things. And sincerely, poetry started paying me, even though people said poetry doesn't pay. Poetry started paying me when I was in university, when I stopped writing for a while. But because my works were already put out there, I was actually really surprised seeing that, okay, I once got contacted by a beauty brand in the US, and they paid me about 500,000 naira to use a poem I wrote when I was 12 years. I got contacted by some schools in the US as well. I got invited on Brave New Voices, which is an international poetry slam that happens in the United States, which I performed twice. So like I was really surprised because I stopped for a while. I had to go to school, focus on school and everything. And that was when poetry started like paying. And then I realized, okay, people are always saying art this, art is that, art is, like saying all sorts of stuff. I came back to Nigeria and I determined that I am definitely not giving up art. I'm definitely not giving up poetry. I'm definitely not giving up visual art. What I should now do is find a way to actually monetize it or make it a business, not just out of passion, but to reach out to people, to influence people to actually like be a part of this, and also a way of actually making money out of it. I started doing programs, art-related programs. Currently I'm currently taking this Phoenix Projects program by Access Bank. They were taught about the arts and how to actually like, I got into the incubation and now we are being taught about the business aspect of art. So like, I don't know, my questions are, how do I take this a step further? Because sometimes I feel like, am I not doing too much? Sometimes I feel like I'm overstressing. Sometimes I feel like I don't even know what I'm doing. Sometimes I feel like I'm not even like, because I haven't even started putting my poetry back out there. I've not started putting my art back out there. I feel like all the groundwork should actually be done before putting it out there. I don't know if I'm making a mistake. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I'm just in that corner, in that space. Like, I just need to get out of, I know that, okay, yes, I'm actually doing the right thing. I'm not making a mistake and stuff like that. And this year, there's this thing I do with a team of other poets and other creatives that's diverse. So it picked up again this year around January. So diverse is actually like a community, a safe space for creatives. So we've had three we've had three events now this year, and the next one is actually this month. So like, our major issue is actually funding. Our major issue is like getting sponsorships and partners. I know there are a lot of partners out there and sponsors out there, and I feel like we just have to like put ourselves out there more or something. But how do we actually reach these people? How do we go up to them and tell them that this is what we have, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to achieve, these are the people that we want to reach? How do we do all of them?
Okay. You see, what I'll say before EFE comes in is to say that that's why you have to attend some of the workshop. I know you are working now, so you have to find a way to be at some of the workshop. But if it will enlighten you in what you are, and you advise you on which of the sessions that you need to attend, because I've been there. Yeah. Go on, EFE, on Culture Train on Spirit of Nigeria Radio. You can respond to the young people now. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all so much. Oyiko, I think maybe I'm the one that should be taking business of art advice from you, so I can also get 500,000 naira for you know. But quite honestly, I think you're on the right track. I know how frustrating it can be trying to, actively make a living as a poet. In an environment where it feels like it's not exactly a mainstream endeavor, it feels really, really marginal. It's almost like a margin within a margin, because even literature itself is a marginal activity, and then you have poetry, which is almost like a marginal activity, even within literature. So it can be very, very daunting and very, very challenging. But listening to you, I think you're actually on track. The most important thing is to keep going and finding ways to put your work out there. There are different paths, really. I mean, there are poets who who settle into academia. I mean, not in Nigeria. The Nigerian academic system has not been able to absorb writers at that level. You know, but the Americans particularly are very adept at being able to absorb, actual, active, writers into the academic system. And there are many young Nigerian poets I know who are going that route. You know, they go for MFAs and then they settle into academia somewhere in the US. They make a decent living. I mean, they're okay. I mean, they may not be rich, but they're fine. They can pay their bills and they're all right. They're doing what they love. You know, I think that's one way to go about it. I mean, typically the ideal thing would have been to say, work on a book, publish a book, and put it out there and make money. But we know how that goes. You know how publishing is struggling, and as struggling publishers are not even willing to bet on poetry. As a matter of fact, most presses will tell you, they won't publish poetry. So we have to find other creative ways, to be able to do it. And you're a performer as well. I think that's an extra layer of advantage. In the last, I think the last time I worked a regular 9-to-5 was in 2014. And from then on till now, I've pretty much made a living as a poet, from doing performances on a very consistent basis. I think Nigerian poets and the Nigerian poetry community can actually make a very strong case to corporate Nigeria about them. I mean, because for corporate Nigeria, really, it's about numbers. It's two things. I thought they're doing it as CSI and saying, okay, we're doing this to give back to the community, and then they give you from bottom pots money they can find and you manage that. Or they see that there's actual value in this. There's an audience that they can reach, with their product, with their brand, and whatever. But I think there's such a sizable community of poets and writers and creatives, across Nigeria today, that we can actually go to corporate bodies to make a strong case, for funding for some of these projects. Like the project you have with your group. I think it's being able to organize it. If you're able to define the project properly, what you want the money for, what exactly it is you want to do, then you look at corporate organizations that you think, have a bit of bent and leaning towards the arts. Access Bank, like you mentioned, Sterling Bank. I mean, when we started the festival, sponsors for a very long time was Nigerian Rules. And it was easy for us to get Nigerian Rules because the head of corporate communications at the time, Kulture, was also like a part-time poet. So we had a listening ear there. But even at that, we still had to make a business case for them. We still had to do a proposal. So you have to figure out, how to do proper proposals to corporate bodies, who to send the proposals to, how to follow up. It's an entire chain of events. Sometimes, you knock on 10 doors, eventually 1 or 2 opens, and you're able to get something, and that, gives you a sense that there's something possible. But there's something possible for you, as you can see already. I mean, somebody paid you 500,000 to use a poem you wrote when you were a child. So definitely there are possibilities there. So how do we position ourselves in a way that we're able to make this repeatable and scalable, as it were? So I think, I mean, it will take a much longer. It's a much longer conversation, and I don't know if there's any way you can reach me out of here. I can send you some of the proposals we've used in the past. As a matter of fact, somebody reached out to me yesterday who runs an established literary platform on the continent to say that, see, I have this project I want to approach Sterling Bank for, and I've been given a contact of who to speak to at Sterling Bank. We want to do an anthology of, I can't remember, they want to do an anthology pretty much. They wanted Sterling Bank to sponsor it. He said, I have the email of this person, but I realized that I have absolutely no idea what to say. How do I approach the conversation to say, because it's a difficult thing because they're coming to ask for money. So there's a particular kind of language, you use for these things as well. And you see it when you have to make grant applications and the proposals, there's a way to make the case. So she was reaching out to say, I mean, just do a screenshot of any email you've ever done, asking somebody to sponsor something so I can just even have an idea, and I dig through and send her a few things. So yeah, I can send you some of the proposals we've used in the past, successfully, as a template to see how you can also use to package what you're doing, with the club and the group, and put your projects together and see how you can get it out there and get funding for it. So you can approach private organizations, and there's a lot of NGO money that also comes, this way, that funds the arts. The bulk of cultural production, across the continent is funded by the West. Really, it's funded by the Ford Foundation, by the MacArthur Foundation, by the British Council, the Gold Pays, and all of them. So most of them have rolling funds and call for applications for this and for that. So it's just also being able to know where to look as well. The bulk of the funding we're getting for the festival this year, we're actually getting from the European Union grant application, for cultural practitioners and cultural projects in West Africa. We applied for it and we were able to get something at least that we could use to cover a bit of a festival. So I think those are some of the opportunities and things that you can look out for as well. So I don't take too much time.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, EFE Paul-AZINO, on Culture, Trade and Spirit of Nigeria Radio, for being a great guest. And I'm sure they are learning. But there was that question that Oriofe asked, that is Kauri Goddess. Maybe she wants to verbalize, because I'm not sure you got to that, even though you've spoken about business, how to package the business, but I'm not sure you got to that. So can you ask the question now, but make it more elaborate, because I too didn't understand it.
Yeah, so for me, I think I've been in the arts long enough to understand that the arts is just a charity case without the proper knowledge of management and marketing. Now, I found out that it's not enough to be an artist alone. You have to know how to manage yourself. You have to know how to market yourself. And that is where I keep having issues, because, I don't know. I've just been an artist all my life. Now, talking about the LIPF festival that is coming, I was hoping, now, lights don't go, see Nigeria. I was hoping, talking about LIPF that is coming, I was hoping you could bring in some artists to talk about the business of art, not just perform or, I want them to be vulnerable with us. I want them to tell us deep. That's one of the reasons why I still stick with German to today. I've known him for a very long time, because it's not just going to brief me. It's going to give me deep meaning, deep connections, and also the surface. I want to understand how these things are run. I also need those proposals, as you said you sent to Onyeka. I also need them. But I wish for the LIPF. I've seen a lot of artists perform. I'm almost tired of it now. Let them come and tell us how they are, because I need money. Nigeria is not smiling.
Yes, I think most of the workshops will actually speak to, because that's what we try to do with the workshops as well, to try and make them as practical as possible. So you have craft workshops on the one hand that speak to, the nuts and bolts of, doing a good poem, which is very important, because the primary product you have is the poem itself. So the poem has to work and has to be something that people, want to listen to. So that's important. And then we also ensure that they speak to the distribution and that they speak to the business aspect of it as well. How do you get yourself out there? How do you position yourself enough to be able to make money from it? So yes, I think most of the workshops would be touching on that. So if you have the time, please join us. You can see all the information on our website, www.lagospoetryfestival.com. We're on Instagram, across social media, on Lagos Poetry Fest, on Twitter, Lagos International Poetry Festival, on Facebook, Lagos Poetry Festival on Instagram as well. Okay. And yeah, you see all the information for all the workshops there. Yeah, most of them will speak to those concerns.
Okay, so, something you do. something you do for us is to help us type all those links.
Okay.
Yeah. But then, okay, having heard from everybody, because I'm still going to bring the professors back. I have to apologize. Our guest from Belgium will not be able to join because she also has a concert. So I've told her we'll bring her another time. So she's been with us right from the beginning, but there's a concert because there's a time difference between us and Europe at this time. So I'll bring her another time. And I'm enjoying it that we even have all this people talking there. Let me ask the journalist now. You know, EFE, the journalist will bring you trouble. That's how he brought all of us into trouble last week. Anote Zoro Ajeloro, the editor-in-chief of yes, the editor-in-chief of
Thank you so much.
Anote Art Org, that's likely to become Art Panorama very soon. Is doing the transition. Anote, please. Hello, Anote. Well, this is Culture Train on Spirit of Nigeria Radio, where we bring the diaspora up to speed. And we're still talking to EFE Paul-AZINO. Anote doesn't seem to be there. So in case the professors or anybody else has something to ask EFE Paul before I bring in other dimension to what he's doing to the Poetry Festival. So, because, hello, Anote. Okay. EFE.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me ask this. Now, we are in the culture season now. And the culture season means that we're moving from one program to another way. You know, it's like there's no more sleep. Now, I think Anote is back there. Okay, there's no more sleep for any of us and things. Are you comfortable with the fact that this October alone, there are about 5 literary festivals that will be happening? All of them, some of them overlapping. And we're sharing the same crowd. I know you have a captive audience, so you are not bothered. So is it something that is positive, or is it something that has an adverse effect on your own planning and program? Because sometimes when you talk to people, they say, oh, but I'm also going to attend this one that is happening, because you're almost running about the same time as Ake Festival, for instance. There's Sokoto Book and Art Festival. There's Abuja Literary Festival. All of them seem to be happening this October, almost about the same time. Are you comfortable with that, or do we still need to do a sort of calendarization of cultural production and expression in the city of Lagos, especially?
I think it's a great thing. It's a very good thing that we're seeing, so many expressions of literary activity and cultural activities. I also think it's a good thing that is concentrated, within a particular month. I mean, in Edinburgh, for example, in August, you have like a number of festivals that are also happening simultaneously. You have the Edinburgh Book Festival, you have the Fringe, you have the Edinburgh International Film Festival, and then you have this military one, they do Tattoo Festival or something, a military festival, military parades. So you have almost like the entire city is awash with cultural activities, and you can also see the impact of the economy. And but it's also structured in a way where they all feed off each other and they all collaborate. And there's also very heavy government involvement in terms of funding and organization, because they know that this thing brings in a lot of money and a lot of traffic into the city at this time. And I think that is something that Lagos, for example, can take advantage of in October, because October you have the Poetry Festival, you have Lagos Photo Festival happening simultaneously, with the Poetry Festival. You have ArtX happening almost immediately after, and also happening simultaneously with Lagos Book and Art Festival. You have Lagos Fashion Week, so there's just so many activities, happening at the same time. I think it's a really good thing. But for the literary activities, we have to be able to create a schedule so that as much as possible, we don't overlap, because we share a relatively small audience. So it's important that we're able to operate sequentially. I think so far so good. It's been working out without exactly clashing. Abuja Literary Festival is ending today. Koramo is ending. Koramo is ending tomorrow, and Kuramo has been on since yesterday. After Kuramo, I think we almost come in immediately after, and then we have Labaf. So I think so far it's been streamlined. It was a bit of a problem when Lola moved Ake to Lagos, and then she was, but even then it still worked because she was third week of October, and then she used to be exactly before the poetry festival. And as a matter of fact, we actually, I think in 2018 and in 2019, we had collaborations where there were poets who were coming for the poetry festival that, we could say, okay, since they're already coming for LIPF, let them attend because she closes with the poetry event. So they attend your evening poetry events, and then, so that also, and then there were also writers and poets who were also coming for Ake, who were also our own guests. And then because she was already covering the flight, they just from Ake, they moved into LIPF. So that sort of kind of works. But I think Ake is back to Abeokuta later in November. You're right. Later in November. So I think so far so good. It's been able to balance itself out a little bit. We just might need to collaborate maybe more intentionally, so that we can see how we can. And it's something I think the state should champion. I know they tried to do it in 2019 when Steve Valerinde was there. I know they called us for a meeting and said they wanted to see how they can, support all the festivals and events happening at that period, but it never really worked out. But in the absence of that, it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to actually have, these sorts of conversations within ourselves to ensure that, how do we structure it properly? We're not clashing, and, otherwise we're feeding off on each other.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. EFE Paul-AZINO on Culture Train on Spirit of Nigeria Radio. Always a pleasure to have you here. And you are planning a big festival and bringing the world to Nigeria without government. Anyway, they spend all the dollar on the campaign. And and Dubai, all the money have gone. So anyway, we'll continue. Art will continue to thrive. That's the thing. Anoche is there. Yeah, Anoche too doesn't have light. Nigeria happened to him, so that's why he was ashamed of bringing himself there without light. Anoche,
I'm using a candle.
Hey, are you using candle? It's even allowed now.
That's very poetic.
So you can go now. You have EFE Paul to yourself now.
Okay. Yes, very interesting conversation there, my brother. Congrats, coming festival. I've been disturbing him to send me material since he's been very reluctant. So I went into the forest and dug up something.
Yeah, but you are published one today. I just shared it.
I saw that you published already. That's why I like you. You don't even need to hear from us. You just go to town. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So my question is actually a follow-up to what Ogayama just asked you about the calendaring. Mine is about audience, like a very small audience. The same audience that will move from Labaf to, Lagos Poetry Festival, to Ake, to Kuramo that is ongoing now, to Fringe, and all that. Are we growing enough audience for the literary activities? Are there enough? How much of new, people are we pulling into the pool, as it were, as audience? Those are probably on the margins. Those who do not usually have anything to do with even literature in the first place. We have a gas company, for instance, having the biggest prize money in the sector, like which we had on Monday. The prize award. So how much of these people who are on the margins are we reaching out and pulling them into the pool of our literary programming?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my question.
I think it's a very important question. It's a very important question because there's still a lot to be done to expand the audience. And I feel in a sense there's an environment for it now, for creating new audience. What I realized in doing the festival in the last 2 years is that there's also been a hollowing out of the Nigerian culturati and literati as well. Many people have actually relocated. Most of them have gone for MFAs, some have gotten jobs, some have, gone for greener pastures. And so I think it's hollowed out the space a little bit. But what happened to us last year was that I think about 70 to 80% of the audience we had for the festival last year were new people who were coming, and I think that was a good thing. I think now we have, an opportunity to actually grow a new audience. Then it was pretty much the same old people who come for, from one festival to the other. But now they're new people. They're open to it. They have the cultural capital to be able to access the kind of thing that you're doing. They read books. They are exposed. They travel. And even people who are not exactly even middle class like that. They are, social media has almost created a large space for people to be able to engage in ways they wouldn't have been able to do so before. So I think we have a very unique opportunity to expand audience. So it goes to how innovative we can be now with our marketing, and some of it also depends on funding. And I think Chinelo, when she was speaking, was saying that Big Brother was everywhere. Big Brother was everywhere because Big Brother has everywhere budgets. So they can afford to be on billboards, they can afford to have radio adverts, and they flood the entire place. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And not only do they have the money, they have the platform. It's pretty much one of the largest networks on the continent. So they can do and undo. So we also need to find the budget as well to be able to, because you see when musicians or even comedians are coming to town, there's a lot more. It's a more mainstream, and here's the irony of it. It's a more mainstream endeavor, but then the marketing is actually even like their marketing is like they're going to die or nobody's going to come, and we see the effort that goes into the marketing. But I think because there's also more money for those sort of artistic expressions that are that mainstream. So literature, we have to be able to find the money, we have to be able to find the creativity to grow a new audience using every means that we can. And I think part of doing that is also in creating value. If we create value for people, they will come. Lagos is a funny city. Lagos people, they like when they can come and take pictures for Instagram and pose. There's too much posing goes on in the city. So if they think that the place is not cool enough for them to come and pose, they may not come. But if you also create value for people who are interested in that kind of thing, they would come because they benefit from it, and even just for the sheer entertainment value that it has as well. So if we're able to ensure that our platforms are as expansive, ambitious enough, I think that might also help in reaching out to the audience. And a big thanks to people like you and Notte who are there to write about it before the event happens, write about it after the event happens, and pretty much just the support that you give at the level of the media and getting the word out there and getting people aware. It's very valuable support, and we're very, very grateful for it.
Okay, thank you very much, EFE Paul. It's don't mind my red lip. Dr. Kolade,
I was wondering.
I don't know. It's my camera. It's my camera. don't mind Dr. Adio Tutola. He was
I get
making, and my daughters are here. He was making some suggestions. I'm here. I'm not doing anything. And look at what I'm drinking. Water. So thank you very much, EFE Paul, on Culture, Train, and Spirit of Nigeria Radio, where we bring the diaspora up to speed. Let me leave the last word to the scholars, because artists can perform, artists can create and express and perform. But if this is not, okay, I have my colleague Basiru Chukwueze. I mean, we started journalism at the same time, but he ran to make money in the bank. Is it to codify it also? I mean, if you don't put all what he's saying now, what we're doing with the poetry festival and all of it, if you don't put it into some kind of cultural, put it into some kind of document or so, or put it into some kind of body of ideas. I know the professors will address it, but Marcel, maybe you can just make a suggestion. You are not on Zoom, but you can, since we are in the studio.
Well, thank you so much, German. I think someone has mentioned, he actually has, not I think that's his name, has said that there's need to make a business case. In making that business case, that's where you create all these items of what value people will get out of it. Mm. And it's that value that will drive the audience that you're looking for. Because people are not coming to do you a favor. You may say charity is not really a charity. They also want to get value out of what you're doing. So you need to articulate it. That's really where the business case comes in. When you are doing a business case, you are forced to think. You're forced to analyze. You're forced to really draw out all the benefits. And so when you push it out there, both to the funding people that you're looking for, maybe the banks, the corporate bodies, but also the people that you want to come in as audience, people who just walk in, there must be a benefit that they will see that is live, that they will get. And so if we do that, if we go that way, I think that building audience will be a gradual and progressive thing.
Okay. But then I need to put this to you. I mean, you were also an arts reporter, arts writer for The Guardian in those days. Yeah. There's something about art and mercantilism. If you're not careful, if you put so much commercial emphasis on the commercial value of the art, or you make it look like it's a product, it's a commodity. What we call, what our boss, Ben Tumaloji, who recruited you and I, what you call the commoditization of culture. It is not likely to lead to a problem, because that's what that's the problem we face in Africa. That most artists are too passionate, too emotional about what they produce, that they don't want it to look like it's a commercial art.
There must be a balance.
Okay.
In as much as you don't want to make it a mercantile affair, it's like saying the spirit is there, but it's the body that will carry the spirit.
Okay.
If the body is not there,
if it's not well fed, the hungry body may not produce.
So there must be a balance. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. People want to maintain the essence of their art. They don't want to sell out. But you need money to fund these things too. Mm. And you need people to even appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody will come to the bush to watch you because you're one eccentric person there. Mm-hmm. You must want to be seen, unless your own art is die with yourself and all that. You know what I mean? That's a good expression to use. Mm. So the essence is that there must be a balance.
Okay.
You want to hold your work. You want to appreciate what you're doing, but you must also create avenue for people to see you and for people to appreciate what you're doing. So the balance has to be.
The balance has to be. Okay. So it's a matter of individual artists then ensuring that there's a balance.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me throw this to Dr. Kole Oditola, because he's been trying to do quite a lot of things. In fact, he started something now about welfare for artists. He's been working on this. And today when he was talking to me, he was talking about the way artists themselves seem to be so perfunctory. They're not interested in their own welfare. So when any one of them gets a problem now, we carry our begging bowl and start raising money. Even when they have now raised money for artists to have welfare insurance, they are now looking for 100 artists to even say, okay, we subscribe. The money is there. They are not paying money. It's just for them to say, I subscribe. Okay. Dr. Kole Oditola, all the way from Florida, the land of iron. Stop.
we will not talk, because EFE Paul is the focus of today's discussion. And I'm hearing what everybody is saying concerning how do you raise an audience? EFE Paul, I know that you're very aware of customer relations officers and what they do. You must have run into one in your life. But have you asked yourself, how come we don't have audience relations officers? Those that will, you know, there's a unit, a center in our university here. I was fortunate to be at the interview of the director. And then they asked him about fundraising. You know what he said to us? He said, fundraising is friends raising. And that thing stuck to my head. And the idea of it that you do not go to a person to ask for funding when you need them. And that's what most artists do. Because we think that this thing is there for us. All we need to do is just ask for it and we'll be given. Or we have a well-crafted letter, you know, that details what they will get from it. I don't think the world works like that. You should create a relationship with an organization. Is it the PR department that you are interested in, that you know that they're the ones in charge of the CSR? What stops you from crafting a beautiful poem, well printed, put it in a letter, during the holidays, send to them? Be present in their lives so that when you need them, you can call them on them. I should be charging for this, like German says, but I would not. No, because some of his ideas, I'm sure you guys have already started to do them, but I'm just reinforcing some of the things that I know that you're doing or should be doing. You know, it is about creating. And I don't know whether it was one of the young adults that spoke, said something like, I don't even hear about this publicity. Yes, that is a very big problem for a society that thinks once you put it on social media, everybody will see it. No, everybody will not see it. We don't, this idea of build it and the people will come, it's a practice that failed. You have to look at your society and de-aggregate the society. What stops EFE Paul and his few hands? Because one of the things is that you don't have a large army of people who are working for you. There are just a few of you. And even at that few, only a few of the few has the kind of burning fervor that you have. So somebody's got to do it anyway, to look at society and redivide it into little segments. What are the societies we have? Let's first look at them. We have the professional associations. We have the non-professional associations. We have religious organizations. We have social groups. We even have ethnic associations. By the time you begin to look at these professional groups, for instance, if there's any one of you who have ever invited the Bankers Association, for instance, have you ever, that Apex organization, have you ever sent them an invitation for what you're doing? You attend to individuals. Yes, the individuals are good. Targeting your invitation to individuals is very good. But targeting your invitations to organizations that can send it to the individuals is also another way. Look at how many professional organizations we have. But you have to cultivate their friendship. And then that thing Chief Commander Basil said just now, that what is in it for them? You can always find what is in it for them, networking. You're going to be providing a platform. One of the things that I have always discussed is there is a need for an organization or the organizations coming together to form a consortium so we can have audience relations desks. They are the ones who will constantly feed these people who come and help you spread the news. At the British, I don't know where the British Council is now, but in our time, we used to have USRS that is very close to racecourse. And the British Council was somewhere, I can't remember now. Can you imagine looking at all the shops around there? All the mechanics, things that people may need just in case. If you come for a show, your car could break down. Who do you contact? If you come to a show, you need to buy something, where do you go? In the program is already there. The list of people you might need is there. And these people themselves, you need to tell them, look at 10 miles radius of events place. And look at the names of the various organizations that are there. And let them know that something like that is going to happen. So that there are in a place like a National Theatre, when in those days when they had Abegi, can you imagine making those women contribute something to the audience that you are bringing, who are coming to spend money there? The reason why the arts is not taken seriously in Nigeria is because we do not have a means of recording and documenting how much is being pumped. Chairman and myself were talking before the show, and he said when Joshua was around, that local government was making so much money. Because people were using the hotels, vendors were selling, and you can quantify that. These are the kind of things you need to turn on to administrators. That's what government wants to see, that you are actually generating income because of the people who come and the money they bring and what they're spending. I don't really feel comfortable saying all of this is because it could be total insult to you, because these are things you already do. You know? So I would just put a lid to it, but I just thought, I heard people talk about audience development. What are we doing? How do we know how to? Can't we borrow from the corporate organizations what they're doing and then replicate it? I understand perfectly well that we cannot ask a man with elephantiasis of a scrotum to also have malaria. By that, you're already carrying a load heavy enough. But in all my years, I have not been able to convince any organization to let's come along. To do this. One day, EFE Paul, German, Chidelo, and the others, we will form a group one day and go to BRT and tell them what would it cost to have poems pasted inside the buses. So that once they fall for that, anytime we have a show, it will be duty bound to carry the advert as well. There are, my brother, Nigeria is a very difficult and complex space. After the show, just ask German. German will tell you, nobody ever thought I could be this size. My head was this big and my neck was this when I was in Lagos, running around and doing events and organizing things. When I told you, I feel every pain, every itch you have, I feel it because I know it, I've been there. But I can sit back here now and say these things and foam in the mouth like you don't know that you could do it. It's not that you don't know how to, it's not that you don't know how to do it or you could do it. It is just that the resources are not there. But these are low-hanging fruits. There are possibilities. We need them. Somebody will do it one day. I will wake up one day and I'll hear that somebody is doing it. So that is in the case of the audience. The lady who asked about funding is the same thing I'll tell you. It is just too rude to run to organizations, even when they're even if you have somebody who's a poet. Let the I always say to people, no, how do you read newspaper? You read the arts pages. And I don't see people write a letter of appreciation after your event has been covered, to write an appreciation to the editor, telling the editor, your reporter did a fantastic job, we're very happy, yada, yada, yada. And then they put it in the file. But we all assume, maybe they are doing their job. They are doing their job. But remember that yours was not the only event for that day, but they came to yours. We must learn. We are Africans. We are hospitable people. We must learn to do that. Ask German when he's ready to tell you that what would he do if he got a letter? The letter he gets is when the reporter doesn't do a good job. Ask him what he would have done in his days if he got a letter from an organization that he sent a reporter to. The reporter comported himself. He did a good report. What would he do if he gets a letter like that? We don't do it. Nobody does it. Even in my university here, I have been asking the union, for God's sake, please, when it's like, what is this madman talking about? But these are things I feel very personal about. Maybe it's just me, but you have to learn how to cultivate. Don't be a user. Don't go to them when you need them. Let them also know that you care about them. Anyway, German, my time is up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Kolade Odutola. Well, I would have loved if you to respond to that, but there's Chinelo, who says she has something.
I'm laughing in vernacular.
I'm not saying, okay.
I'm not saying, why are you laughing? Tell them why you are laughing.
Okay, let me take my daughter for before I
No, Paul knows why Paul knows why I'm laughing. Paul, he knows.
No, see, everything Paul has said is very true. It's very. I mean, these are things that we have to. Before you answer, EFE, let's say from a young person, you people are, you are the waste. Okay, you are the waste. Okay, you are not wasted generation. Okay, I'm holding.
They are just the wasted generators. Yeah, the generator.
Let's learn from the millennial. Okay, Chinelo. Go ahead,
okay, getting audience, that is why we have the like something called Facebook page. We have a social media manager these days, so it's very easy for you to reach a larger audience. So Facebook page, if you create a Facebook page, it only takes you like this amount of money, like let's say 1,000, 2,000 to sponsor your page, where thousands of people in Nigeria will get to see what you are doing out there, what you are putting out there. And once you become very popular and you can monetize your account, that any single person that watches your video, you get paid for it. Even some people will even pay you to advertise on your page, and you're making a whole lot of money. That's where all these comedians, if you look recently, we have a lot of people who are into comedy, skit making. This is where they get their money from, posting things on Facebook and all. Once you have a page on Facebook, you can do, as long as you have a good social media manager, you can actually get good audience and even get money from the things that you post online. So when you're watching, like sometimes we are watching a post on Facebook, a short post on Facebook, and an ad comes up. That person that owns that Facebook page is getting paid for that advertisement that is on that Facebook that comes up on that page. So there are a lot of ways to get audience. Just create a Facebook page and then you can get a sponsored post, pay for a sponsored post of 1,000 naira or lesser, and then you go viral. They take your work viral, or in Nigeria, people get to see, and they begin to like your page, follow you up, and that is it.
This my daughter said. How come you never told me all of this? You see me struggling all this year to do festival here. I will hold you responsible. Now you have now spoken yourself into trouble.
Make her your festival manager on social media.
Okay, now you are my festival manager for social media.
Yes, sir.
You are in trouble officially now.
I'm managing your page for you because I'm actually taking a course on this. Like I paid, because of we on strike, so we have to learn a lot of skills. I have to learn some. I learned graphic design, I learned video animation, and I learned this marketing actually. So this is how I have my own page on Facebook. When I'm working on my marketing, marketing skills. That's what I'm working on. So once I'm get
you are now officially engaged. You are now officially engaged as the social media manager for LIPF, Lagos Book and Art Festival.
Yes,
you are now in trouble. Don't tell me stories.
No concord.
Okay. So EFE, we have to wrap up now. So EFE Paul, I know if you have okay, please. So you have to wrap up now because go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say I really appreciate everything that Professor Kola has said. It's very important that those very easy to unlock softer elements of fundraising is really important that we do the wetting of the ground before and after, and even just even beyond even beyond it being a strategy. I think just the the humanness of it, the decency of it. I think those things go a long way. And yes, we definitely would be applying ourselves a bit more in that regard. And I just also want to thank Jamal for the platform. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to listen to all the contributions and to be able to share, about the work that we're doing as well.
Okay, please, Father, as a wrap up, can you just remind us of the program for those who are still listening to us? What's the date, the theme, and just in a few sentences before I thank you.
Yes, so the festival begins October 27th at Terra Culture from 6 p.m. We'll have opening cocktail performance and our keynote panel. And then on the 28th, we're at the British Council from 6 p.m. as well. We have an evening of African poetry, Africa Aloud, followed by an evening of American poetry called American Slang. And then on Saturday, we're at Roving Heights Bookshop at Landmark Center from 12:30 p.m. We have a series of book readings. We have Dame Ajayi, Tony Khan, Mukoma Ngugi, CJ Benson, Samuel Osaze, Umar Abubakar Sidi. Quite a number of people will be reading from their works and signing books. And then on the 29th, that same Saturday, we are back at Terra Culture for the Poetry Slam at 5 p.m. And then for the festivals, performance, concert, poetry and music at 8 p.m. And then on Sunday, we are back at the British Council in the morning for Church of Poetry, first and second service. We have a film screening at 4 p.m. and festival's closing party at British Council as well later in the evening on Sunday. But before the openings on Thursday and Friday, we have workshops at GoEFE. We'll be visiting schools as well and doing radio interviews and all of that before the festival kicks off. Mainly on the 27th. The theme is Babel, a new language. Please join us. All the information you need, you'll find on www.lagospoetryfestival.com. I've put it in the comment section.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. EFE Paul, on a cultural train on Spirit of Nigeria Radio, where we bring the diaspora up to speed. We're very happy with what you're doing because up till now, poetry, you struggle with it for over time. Professor Kola told us about 4 volumes, and we were even abusing him that, look, go and, what did Tony Akejo say? He said, go and sit by the ocean at midnight and write good poetry. In those days, poetry was not this popular, but now, imagine someone like Odia who has written like maybe 10, 20 volumes of poetry is still struggling out there, you know. And this is the time that we really need poetry, because now we're going to transition, and poetry is the language with which you can engage the political process without them understanding. Some politicians are not that intelligent to understand poetry. That's why they've not come after you. The moment life happens, the meaning of what you are saying will come after you. I can tell you that. So thank you very much. It's been Culture Train on Spirit of Nigeria Radio, and we are sailing off now, and we'll be back next week. Thank you, everybody who has been here. It's now for me to sign out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If we wish you success in your venture, and we'll be there. I can assure you that we'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. And then, so that you can take over now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. You are owing me my review. Now that we're off, okay, I'm disconnected now. Now you're owing me my review. Am I getting my transcriptions?
I've already finished. So it's just the editing. I'm working on.
You know, this one has joined. I'm sending this one to you now. So this one has joined it now. So what do you?
I'll send this to you. I would have done that yesterday, but there was no light and my battery was very low, so I could not edit because I had already finished transcribing the day before yesterday, but there was no light yesterday to edit. So
okay. So how are you going to attend the Lagos Poetry Festival? Anyway, check and let me know.
Because I really want to get involved in all these things. I really want to get out there because I know I'm very good. On my Instagram page, I've been doing a lot of poetry. I did a lot of poetry videos, poetry writing, a lot of things I did. I have up to like more than 100 poems out there, you know.
Wow. So why don't you compile them for publication?
Yeah. You know, I used to.
It could be what you take out of the ASU break. Say you publish your collection of poetry. So when people ask you, how did you spend your ASU break? You just say, well, I publish a book.
That's how we help me. If you help
me. No,
send
them to me now. Yeah. I'll send it to an editor and you've gotten yourself a job, even though I don't know where to pay you from. You are the social media manager for you and Oyin Consola, because you told me the same thing today for Laba.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I want to even tell you, I want to become part of this Laba.
That's what you say. And then if you now come one day and say your parents have turned you to house cook.
No, they don't really have any problem as long as it has to do with my writing stuff.
But you still have to be in the. Are you not in the kitchen now? Is that not why you cannot do the video?
No, I'm in my room already.
Because of us, she's turn her into the house cook now. When she was in school, can they do that? They can't.
ASU has done bad things that really makes my academic life so much. But anyways, I took advantage of it. I'm learning a lot of things.
So you can edit video now.
Yes, I do video advertisements for people, even for this Take Back Nigeria that was held. It was me that created the graphics and the
Bring back
the animation. This Take Back Nigeria, this rally that they held. Was it on the first?
What is that? Bring back Nigeria.
Take Back Nigeria.
Take back Nigeria. Okay, can you send it to me? Let me see.
Okay, I'll send it to you, sir. I've made a lot of advertisements for people, for business owners and all. So that's why I tried to learn